So house hunting is probably the most fun part of the whole home buying process. It's fun for me. It is fun for my clients. There are so many shows on HGTV that are dedicated to that part of the process alone, and seemingly not dedicated to any other part of the entire process. But it's understandable, but this is the most fun. It can be really, really emotional. But we know by now that a lot of these shows aren't really that realistic. So I've gathered a few tips. I've got 8 of them to kind of help you through the the house hunting process in this market if you live in Birmingham. So my name is Glenise Johnson, and I am with Artformhomes and EXP Realty, and I am a realtor serving the greater Birmingham area. So let's get into these tips. I got 8 of them. So the first one is have a checklist. Have a checklist. I've said it before. Your wish list with deal breakers. It's good, of course, to know exactly what it is that you're looking for. You know, most people are not going to do this anyway. You know, you're not going to not know what you're looking for before your house hunting. But yeah, it's important to have your wish list with your deal breakers. It's good to have an agent to kind of help you flesh out your priorities, you know, and things like that, so you know exactly what you're doing and what you're looking for before you start physically going out to look for houses. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is be prepared to make an offer. Like that day, be prepared to make an offer. You don't really have time to contemplate. These houses are flying off the market. You don't really have time to kind of sit and just kind of lollygag and look at these houses and decide. And see, that's the thing. House hunters kind of got the game messed up, and they got us thinking we could sit in these cute little coffee shops and have these little cute little conversations about which one of these 3 fabulous houses we gonna choose, while they just sitting there waiting on us to choose them. Child, by the time you've pulled up to the parking lot at the coffee shop, by the time you've pulled out your phone to consider which restaurant or coffee shop you want to go to have this conversation, the house is gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. You don't have time. Definitely be prepared to make, if you like the house, because we live in this wonderful time with technology to where you really get a lot of the stats and all the information you could want to know about the house beforehand. You get a lot of that. You get pictures, so you're really just going to see if you physically like the house once you get there. You know, because pictures can lie, so you want to see, you know, the full extent of what the house looks like. But that's the last step. If you like the house, you need to put an offer on it for sure if you really want to. And I would say, don't let that scare you. Don't let that scare you. Don't let that make you think, oh, I'm jumping into something and I'm making a big, decision, really, really quickly. I know for some of you that are like, heavy contemplators and a little indecisive, this kind of goes against your nature. But trust me, you're not doing this home buying process blindly and haphazardly. I promise you, you're not. Because from the moment that you put in an offer, if it's accepted, from that moment that you're accepted to the moment that you close and you are actually legally obligated to that loan, you've got a 30-day period. You got 30 days, at least 30 days. And within that 30 days, you have an inspection period where you have professional inspectors to come out and to give you the full 411 on the condition of the house. So you're not going into anything blind. You're not going into any situation not knowing exactly what you're walking into. You will know full well it is not a blind situation. You're not rushing into anything. But you definitely need to be ready. If you want the house, if you like the house, to be ready to make an offer as soon as you see it. Especially if you're going to see it the day it goes on the market, because more than likely there are multiple offers already on it. So if you want to put your stick in the pile to be chosen, definitely be ready to make an offer that day. All right, so that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to be open to a virtual showing. To be open to a virtual viewing experience in general, especially during this time of COVID, and how we're having to move around. But more importantly, consider the fact that because these houses are kind of flying off the shelf, you may not be able to see the house when you actually really should be able to see the house. Meaning that the house may have gone on the market on Thursday, you work really long hours, you're not going to be able to get off until late in the evening, and soon as you can see it, it's like Saturday. That house gone. It's gone before you can see it. So consider a virtual showing. You may not be able to get off work, you know, or you may not be able to see it on your lunch break. I know it's not the case for every agent, but most of us are pretty full-time at this. Not all of us, but most of us are pretty full-time. And our schedule's a little bit more flexible, maybe a little bit more flexible than yours, to where we can probably see it a little bit sooner. I will say I have definitely submitted offers and gone under contract under the condition that my buyers, they saw a video tour that I did by myself at the house, where I took a video. I used an app called Marco Polo, because a lot of times you're doing videos and you're trying to upload it through text, it don't be uploading right. But I did Marco Polo, which allows you to do just endless video when you're doing like a back and forth chat. And I was able to go through the entire house, every nook and cranny, as if they were physically there. I know it's not your actual eyes, but it still can be just as flexible and as intimate, because the person that's doing the tour for you, most likely your agent, is going through and walking around as if you would, looking at every closet, looking at every space, looking at it from different angles to see how big it actually is versus what the pictures show you. So be open to that, because that might be the only way you be able to have the opportunity to put in an offer to see if it gets accepted. All right, so that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is keep an open mind with non-deal breakers. Keep in mind, we've already established your deal breakers, and for the most part, we have eliminated them from the search. So deal breakers are done with. So if you see things that are not your deal breaker, consider the pros and cons of its presence or lack thereof, or consider, you know, if it warrants you walking away from the house altogether. Just be very considerate of that. If it's not a deal breaker, you know, what can you live with, or what can you not live with? Just be mindful of those things. And that kind of really leads me into my next tip, which is tip number 5, which is tailor your expectations. Tailor your expectations. Now, it's really smart with sellers to, you know, present the house the best condition, stage it well, make it look as presentable as possible. However, it's still good for you to tailor your expectations and know that every house you walk into is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be this vision of a glamorous furniture store. It's not. You know, House Hunters got us thinking that too. It's kind of got us a little messed up on that too. We're a little spoiled. We think all the houses are going to be beautiful. Not necessarily. The way you currently see it is not going to be the way it's going to be when you own it. You know, if it's empty, if it's got a weird paint color, it's not going to be that way. You know, you're going to own it and be able to do whatever you want to it. If there's certain aspects, especially cosmetic things that are outdated, know that you can update them at your time, at your own time. I'll go even as far to say, because a lot of people talk about wanting hardwood versus wanting carpets and things like that. Yes, that can be major with the price point, but also consider it is cosmetic. It is something you can change because you will own the house. So just weighing it against the, you know, weighing it against the whole prospect of putting an offer and owning a house to begin with. Just my point with this, I pull it home just to say, don't let cosmetic things kind of keep you away from an overall great house. It's meeting all your other criteria. Don't let that be the deterrent. Child, if that thing got green walls, if you don't go to Sherwin-Williams and get you some paint cans and some blue tape and paint them, like just please don't let cosmetic things should not be deal breakers. Don't let that deter you from a really great house, especially if you're getting a good deal. Like if it's, you know, something's working out with the pricing and it's actually in right standing with the market value, or maybe even lower. Don't do that. But yeah, tailor expectations. So tip number 6 is prioritize your search. Prioritize your search. You may not be able to see every single house that you're interested in before it becomes unavailable, especially if all the houses you're interested in went on the market that week. And if you, especially like I said earlier with the virtual showing tip, if your work schedule is kind of thick, you know, you're not really able to get off work, or you may only be able to see 1 or 2 houses at a time, and the most time you can actually see a house is maybe the weekend. If that house went on the market that week, by the time we get to the weekend, it's probably not going to be available. It's probably going to be under contract. So definitely prioritize. Make sure you go. If you can skip your, go out on your lunch break and see the house. Make sure you're seeing the ones you really want to see. Do not put off any other house for like the weekend or something like that. See the ones you really want to see immediately as soon as you can. So yeah, that was tip number 6, prioritize your search. Tip number 7 is be on time for your appointments. Be on time. Multiple people are looking at these houses. More than likely there's an appointment ahead of you and one behind you. And you may not really have all the time you think you have to really kind of lollygag and just kind of, show up. I know House Hunters got us thinking, it really seems like on these shows that nobody was there until those people showed up. It really just seems like the house is just waiting on those people to show up so they can decide they want to buy it, but it is not like that. So definitely you want to make sure you can get in, because if you're missing that appointment or if you're late enough, you may have to reschedule, you know what I'm saying, because there's another appointment behind you. And granted, you can still see the house if there are other people in it, but if you don't want to be around a lot of people, especially during COVID, keep that in mind. So just be on time for their appointments. Also, of course, be on time to be respectful of your agent and help them to be able to do their job even better for you. So yeah, be on time for your appointments. You want to make sure you're able to get in so you be able to put in an offer on that house if you really love it, right? All right, last tip. Tip number 8 is don't start shopping, like physically trying to go to these houses until you're pre-approved. You're doing yourself a disservice, because why? You cannot purchase it. And I know you may be thinking, well, I really just want to see what's out there and what's available. What's out there and what's available is not out there and available for you if you cannot purchase it. If you're not able to acquire that pre-approval letter like by at least the next day, there is no point. Definitely look, we're blessed to be in this time where technology is so abundant to us. You look and look and look at as many houses you want to look through, especially if those pictures help you kind of gather your thoughts about what you want in your home. But physically going to see them, it's not, trying to make appointments to go see them is not necessarily, it doesn't really do you, it doesn't do you any good because you can't buy them. And also, honestly, during this time with COVID and all the precautions we're having to take, most times sellers don't really want you in their house if you don't have a pre-approval letter and they know you can seriously buy the house, because that's extra bodies and extra people walking through the house that can kind of put their safety in jeopardy. Does that make sense? Right? Like you think about it like that. Like this time is just a really, really weird time. We are still out, still doing showings, still selling houses, but we just kind of have to take different measures when we're going to see these houses. So that's one thing for sure. Let's not waste anybody's time. Let's make sure we are pre-approved. We know exactly what we can do. We're making sure we're seeing the houses that line up with all that criteria, including what we can afford, and so that we have a clear head and we can be strategic when we go out and do these showings, right? So yeah, that's all I got. Those are 8 tips. Hopefully this was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, you can click the link below to click on my Calendly if you want to have a quick chat with me. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Check out the video I posted last week where I talked about the pros and cons. Well, not the pros, I'm sorry. Where I talked about the different types of mortgages that are available and their pros and cons and how they can be of an advantage to you. And so check that out. I post that link in my description as well. I am still probably currently on maternity leave. It is March, I believe. And so I am not necessarily available for like full-fledged buyer's consultations, but to answer your questions, I am totally here. If you got a question or anything that's on your mind, anything you need me to clarify, please send me a text, send me an email. My number's below as well. I'm happy to chat with you and get your questions answered, okay? All right, that's all I got. You guys be well. Much love, take care, and I will talk to you later.